Clearly making the tripling target happen will require a strong workforce. Join me in welcoming our moderator, Mark Nelson, to the stage for the High Quality Careers, the Opportunity of Clean Energy session. Mark Nelson. Our esteemed panelists are Herve Maillart, Head Coordinator of the French Nuclear Sector, EDF France. Anna Birchall, Special Envoy for Strategic and International Affairs, NuclearElectrica. Amanda Nompumelelo Mbhele, Youth Advocate, South Africa. And Neil Wilmshurst, Senior Vice President, Energy System Resources and CNO EPRI.
Have a seat, everybody. So, this is our first session of the day and of the conference, so we can take it slow and take time. I'm excited about this. Just kidding. We have one final session left and 30 minutes to figure out how we're going to attract the incredible young people who are fired up, as you have seen in our previous panels. And we have some very interesting experiences up here. I was just chatting to everybody, and we have a bunch of ideas of how to bring people in, and then we'll just have to check with Amanda and see if that would do the trick to bring you into the workforce. But I wanted to go ahead and start with you, Neil. I hear that you come from the Navy, and that the Navy has given you a nuclear Navy. You learn a little bit about what type of person you can bring in to just get the job done under the most extreme circumstances. You're at EPRI. You help advise on how to bring people into electricity in general. Tell me something. How do you find the right person, and what do you look for in candidates?
Okay, so first of all, thanks for the opportunity to be here, and thank you to the organizers. So the question is, what am I looking for when I'm bringing engineers into an organization? And it was the Navy was a while ago, but you know, that's where I did learn a lot. And what happened in the Navy was a captain I was on a ship with took me to one side one day on the bridge and said, Neil, all anyone wants is a decision. They don't want you to think too long about a decision. They just want a decision so they know the general direction to go. Your job is to figure out when your decision was wrong and course correct. And that has been kind of a guiding principle for me for all my career. So what am I looking for when I interview anyone for a job? And this is something I think the nuclear industry can learn from and embrace. I'm actually looking for someone who is prepared to take a risk, but to understand the range of inaccuracy in that decision, and then be prepared to accept when that decision is going off track, and put the hand up and say, I need help. So that is one of the basic principles when I'm interviewing anyone, is are they going to play it safe, or are they going to take a measured risk and actually deal with the consequences?
So, as CNO of your organization, you must hear from a lot of different people about their needs. How sum up the size and the challenge of the recruiting pipeline at the moment? How many people do you need?
I can tell you, every single organization I talk to is going through this hiring challenge. And it's not just the nuclear industry, it's the renewable industry, it's all kinds of industries. We are, frankly, in a mode of cannibalizing ourselves, competing for hiring people, actually trumping each other on the compensation we're giving people. And that is not the way we're going to get to 2050. We've got to find a way to widen that pipeline, because I truly believe the workforce issue is going to be that limiting factor in getting us to 2050 and beyond. We know the technologies, we know how to manufacture things, but where are the people? So that is the real challenge all of us are facing. And all too often, we're looking for people who are early career but have 15 years experience. They don't exist. We have to find a way to actually bring people from other industries and somehow accelerate that experience transfer. You know, another thing we need to bear in mind is proficiency is the product of qualifications and experience. We tend to focus so much on qualifications. We've got to find a way to accelerate the experience part of that equation.
Very interesting. So you're saying when you're looking for engineers, you want somebody who can take a decision, course correct, take a risk, and from your answer just now, it sounds like you're saying you need the companies that they're joining, not only to get people like that, but themselves to have that slight risk-taking of accelerating people's advancements, like faster careers than before.
Yeah. And you need people who are hungry to get that experience and grow as fast as you can. And all too often, the nuclear industry holds people back with a regimented progression through qualifications and what people are allowed to do. We need to find ways to accelerate that learning experience and experience gathering.
Very interesting. Okay, you see a number of different entities that you work with. You probably see ones that seem better than others at hiring, or at least happier with what the outcomes are. Do you have any quick words of advice for those listening here who need to hire? What have you seen as some of the most innovative best practices?
That's an interesting question. I tell you, the people who I admire are actually in this room. You look at what happened at Baraka. You think the experience base in UAE, in nuclear, wasn't there. You look at the way things accelerated and actually how the competence of the whole organization is. And how did they do that? They actually reached out and brought people from other countries, people from other companies. And the secret, in many ways, I would say, to the success at Baraka is diversity. They brought in other experiences. You look how many ladies there are working in the NEC nuclear program. It's an example many of us can learn from.
I love that. I'm going to move on to Amanda, but thank you for, this wasn't even for this audience. I just wanted advice for me for getting hired on in my career. So I want to thank you for that, Neil. Amanda, you're from South Africa. You work in the nuclear program. I'd love, and as a decommissioning specialist for NECSA, could you tell us a little bit, where on earth did you hear about nuclear?
Thank you very much, Mark, and thank you everyone thank you audience for being here. Where did I hear about nuclear? Firstly, for my first 20 years of life, I had no clue about nuclear at all. It was until I attended the biggest energy conference in South Africa, and that's when I met, next I was exhibiting actually there, and there were your communication specialists, your communication people exhibiting, and I was curious as to what exactly are these yellow drums, because they had brought these yellow drums on site, and so I was curious to know what are these drums for and stuff. And I remembered my geochemistry class in undergrad, where we were dating rocks, and we were also calculating the radioisotopes and checking the residency of water underground. So I went to them, I asked them a lot of questions that they could not really give me answers that were convincing. And as a result, they were like, we're actually looking for you to come and answer these questions for other people, because we don't have many people talking about the back end of the nuclear fuel cycle. Most people don't know what is happening. And in fact, they are even scared to talk about it, I think, because it's the most controversial part of the nuclear industry. So that's how I was brought into the team now, to say, come solve these issues, come be the back end communicator of the nuclear fuel cycle, especially in South Africa, where most people don't even know that we have a nuclear power plant, we have a research reactor. They don't even know we produce nuclear medicine, and we're one of the top 3 producers of nuclear medicine in the world. So I came in to now spread the word, and in my province particularly, maybe one person in 20,000 people will know about nuclear, and they only knew about bombs. So I was like, I need to change this. I need to change. I need to be the communicator as much as I'm a specialist in decommissioning and waste management. But I want people to know about nuclear. I want people to harness the benefits of nuclear, and especially because it's in their lives, more or less. I mean, they eat bananas, they eat radiated food, when you're killing pathogens. But they don't know that radiation and nuclear is actually in their life every day.
Okay, so you're saying there was some kind of shiny prop. It attracted your attention at a trade show or a recruiting show for a much bigger thing. You went up and they said they couldn't quite explain a thing, but they're looking for somebody who could explain it to the people. Yes. And then you found your way in because it was a challenge once you learned about it. So I would agree that of the many challenges we still have, considering this incredible success in nuclear advocacy, one of the things I think I'm going to hear it last. The last complaint about nuclear is going to be the waste. The waste, the waste, the waste. Some, how do you tear down a nuclear plant? But another is the waste. What would you do if you were hiring young experts to work in technical fields and you needed them to be able to talk? How would you find young people who know the science and are willing to take a risk and talk about it?
So you ask me, how will I recruit people and make sure I recruit competent people?
Well, if I can say, people like you.
People like me. Well, one gap I've seen when I was communicating to people in South Africa, particularly students or even people, the general public, for starters, they don't know. But what they do not realize is that nuclear industry is very broad. And it's not, you don't necessarily have to have a first degree in nuclear engineering to be in the space of nuclear, So almost every field, if you're a biologist, if you're an environmentalist, you can actually incorporate nuclear related certificates or education and be a nuclear scientist in whichever field. So that's one thing I appreciate about nuclear, that it's broad, it's accommodative of any field. I think it's one of the sectors that accommodates almost every field that exists in the planet. The pharmaceutical companies, the pharmaceuticals and biologists, as I have mentioned, and geologists, for instance, because I have an undergrad in geology. So it's more accommodative. I'll first make people understand that you can come this side. You don't have to be a first degree holder of a nuclear engineer, but you can incorporate your own studies and find, because nuclear is everywhere, honestly, it's in your life every day. So incorporate your undergrad in whatever field into a nuclear space, and then you can thrive in it. And one amazing thing about nuclear as well, you have almost an infinite laboratory. It encourages collaboration. So you can be in South Africa, but working with someone in Switzerland, in everywhere in the world. So it fosters collaboration, it fosters innovation, and it's a bridge to all spheres of life, basically.
Very good. I thought those answers were great. Anna, I'm going to move on to you. So one of my favorite little facts that I like busting out, because, I did trivia when I was younger, is that Romania's nuclear program actually has one of the absolute highest total historical capacity factors of any country, any fleet in the world. You guys are bumping up that global historical average, which to me means that you've done something very right in workforce development. Whether that can keep going the same way or you have new approaches, I intend to find out right here. So I have to ask you, how are you recruiting people into the Romanian nuclear space, and how are you training and developing them once they're there?
Well, firstly, Mark, thank you for inviting us to be here, and congratulating to you and to the organizer and to the COP organizer, generally speaking, because it's the first time when actually at COP nuclear is up right there. And that has an influence on the recruiting as well, and on the youth especially, when they can see a career path for themselves. And that makes life easier for the CEOs of the companies to actually recruit and retain good people as well, because that means that they will, they will have a long-term career in the nuclear. So what have we done right? Well, we've done a lot of things right. And the fact that matter is that Romania, as you kindly said, and rightly said so, we are the only country in Central Eastern Europe that since 1968 we went with the North American technology. We have 2 reactors operating, and we are building 2 more other reactors, large reactors, and we are at the forefront for deploying the SMRs. And you mentioned Baraka, that's a great project. And a lot of the engineers, they actually came from Cernavoda nuclear power plant from Romania. And actually, on the SMR site in Doicești that we are developing, we have now the second generation of the workforce. So that is proven, is not just words. It's proven that actually our strategy in investing in people and training them and retaining them, it's a long strategic planning, but likewise we never been complacent about it, because at the state level and at the company level we are having lots of programs, including now reaching to the 10 years old. So we are not just investing in the universities and having that network of the universities, and in Romania we even have a master in the nuclear, which now it's easy to talk about it, but when you think a few years back when nuclear wasn't necessarily the princess in the room, in fact it was actually the baobab and nobody wanted to talk to, and that's why I'm again commends to you and to everybody that is promoting the nuclear and the benefits from the nuclear, not just in terms of securing a very reliable source and affordable source of energy, but actually you have several other benefits from the nuclear, including on the health, for example, or agriculture, or on the water. So showing the benefits from the nuclear, it has a tremendous impact on the workforce, especially on the youth. So I can give you several examples of the programs that we've been doing. We have the so-called Nucleo of Excellence that we are training. We offer scholarships. But we are investing in the communities as well, okay? It's not just spending, it's actually investing and having the community being embraced and being part of this project. And if I can share with you my humble personal experience, I am a lawyer by training and I've been in public service for more than 20 years now, mainly on foreign affairs, holding several ministerial positions and deputy prime minister. And for me, always energy was from the strategic point of view, from the security point of view. So when I got closer to see inside people from NuclearElectrica, from Cernavoda, what I discovered is that those people, they have something special. Is that pride that they are contributing. Well, in the case of Romania, at the present, with 2 reactors, we are providing 20% of Romanians' energy. That means that 1 out of 5 lights are being lit by, by NuclearElectrica's efforts and those, my colleagues' efforts. And you can see in their eyes that pride is not just being a career, but it's that special saying that actually you are writing history for your own country, and that's why we've been very strategically but wisely planning to have those other 2 builds, refurbishment of Unit 1, meaning adding 30 more years of life to the existent, to the existing reactor, and then with the SMR. So practically, we will provide the security in terms of the energy to Romania, but being an exporter of energy security in the region. And not that many professions have that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that now the nuclear being, retaking its place in the international arena, that gives the youth, when you go to the universities or the high schools, where, as I said, in our case, we reach out, and I have here with me Ludmila. If you need advice on how to reach a community and to make you embraced, and having 80% of acceptance in terms of the nuclear, and it's not just acceptance, but actually support, public support, she can share some of our experience. But I guess in conclusion, we are investing in people, and we are offering them a career that is not just about money, but it's about the job that you are doing, providing energy for your own country, and having that, as I said, having that pride that actually you leave something great behind you.
So Anna, you've got 2 reactors. They've been on for a while. They're really excellent. but
we
you
are
said
top
yourself,
in the world.
right?
We are number one, and that's
Number
a
one,
reality.
I have been corrected
I'm not
on facts
subjective.
in front of everybody.
It's the chart. And
Okay.
that's because of the human resources as well, because we have excellent operators, practically at every level. But again, we offer scholarship, we invest in the local community, we reach out to the university, we invest in our university, we invest in our students, and guess what? Now with the SMRs, what did we do? We put a simulator in the university where we are already starting training our people for being able to operate and to work with the SMRs. So what we are doing is actually investing, as I said, investing in our workforce, which practically is your wealth. So if I could put it this way, we are securing not just the supply chain and everything, but we are securing the human resources. And as you could see, we actually are so good that actually we provided to other nuclear power plants like the Baraka one. And I'm very happy to hear, even last night, talking with our friends from the UAE, they were saying how amazing the Romanians work at the Baraka power plant, how good they were.
I love that answer. Thank you very much, and thank you for the correction. Herve, I'd like to turn to you. My first big public outing of my entire career, really my whole life, is when I made a chart comparing the French electricity emissions to the German electricity emissions. It was like a revolution, evidently, just to show the emissions of France in numbers versus Germany in numbers. Your nuclear fleet is what I hear from. When I mention I'm in nuclear, people want to lecture me on how France is incredible because of its nuclear fleet. It truly is it's a pride of the world. It's the example that shows that all these crazy dreams at COP of decarbonization, it can happen, and we don't have to guess, we don't have to point at models, we can point at France and say, we know for a fact it can happen because France did it. But all of us in this room know that France is now approaching an extraordinary period where once it must renovate and it must build. So if I could ask you, sir, just how many people do you need to take the world's biggest per capita nuclear fleet and keep it going for the next generation?
Yes, before to answer your question, I will recall that the French policy has been completely redefined 1 year ago, more than 1 year ago. And we intend in France to have the long-term operation for each of the existing reactors, 56, sorry. We intend to start to build 6 new EPR2 and the first concrete in 2027. We intend to start the construction of a newer project, a small and medium-sized reactor, pressurized water in 2030. And then we have a very big project financed by up to 500 million euro by the government on advanced reactors, with the first concrete between, let's say, 2026 and 2030. Okay, once we have said that, we will use 3 pillars to develop these programs. The first one is how to finance. It was the subject of the previous session. The second one, it's important because when we ask how many people we want, we have to see also what industry do we want locally. And France wants a global nuclear industry, including advanced reactors, fuel, research, development, construction, forging, and so on. So, if we are looking at the question now of how many people we will need, we ask to all the industrial sector in France, okay, with this program, what is your program of people inside your company? And in the next 10 years, we will have to find 100,000 people, new people.
100,000 people in the next
10 years. Half with the retirement of people and half of new people that we will have to find to start the construction and to really operate the reactors. So we have created in France what we call the Université des métiers du nucléaire, University of Nuclear Skills. It's not a physical university, but the goal of this organization is to make that all the action plans are done in order to fulfill this objective of finding 10,000 people per year. So I have some example to give of what we are doing. The first one is probably to attract young people, because we look at all the classes, all the trainings that we have in France, and there are sufficient trainings, but the trainings are not full. So we have to attract people in the classroom, in the technical jobs. We are not talking about engineering, we are talking about welders, maintenance people, people that do the works and so on. So we put scholarship in place. Today, this year, there are 200 scholarships distributed to young people. And next year, we have the objective to go to 400 scholarships distributed to young people. We also opened a website to describe what are the nuclear jobs. All nuclear jobs are described. We have around 80 nuclear jobs. And they are all described on this website. And all the job offers are on the website. So when a young people want to know in my region, in my area, what can I find? I am interested by welding, I am interested by electrical maintenance. He can find, or she can find, on the website the possible job that he has he can find. We are also working on converting people. When I say converting people, is that, for example, electric cars are growing up very fastly in France, obviously, like everywhere. And some people already working are not interested by electric car. They like old cars with oil and so on. And so we offer them possibility to come to the nuclear sector and have a new job more in coherency with what they want. We work on continuous training. Continuous training is a training inside the companies in order to train people and to grow up their skills. And maybe what I consider the most important is that when you take in France a welder coming out of the school, he has to be trained in the company around 18 months, 2 years before being qualified as a nuclear welder. In my opinion, this is not good. So we are working on two possible actions. The first one is to include in the training at school some nuclear-specific trainings. And the second one is to shorten as much as possible the delay when the people go out of the school, the delay before he is qualified. And with all this, we intend to find as much as possible people close to 10,000. In my opinion, it will be very, very difficult to find 10,000 people per year. That's why I think we have to work on a bigger scale, European, for example, maybe international, and maybe with the countries that are okay to work with France on those questions and to exchange skills when they are needed, because they are not needed at the same time in France and, for example, in Romania or in different countries.
If I could just compliment what you were saying, because we created the same, we have the platform, and we created a job fair, especially on the nuclear. In 2000, so this year, we reached up to 7,000 students being interested. And, we have the same in Cernavodă, we have the campus as well. So this partnership between, and I guess what will be needed in the future as well, and what we've been doing constantly, is to have this partnership between us, the company, plus the government, and especially the Minister of Education, where you will start putting into the curricula and again making it more attractive to the people from the youngest age.
A quick question, thank you, Anna. Quick follow-up question, Herve. you need a lot of people now, partly because the attitude has changed. Have you felt a response coming already from people interested in entering your sector, hearing the words of your president, opening a new nuclear era in France? Have you experienced already higher interest?
Yes, it's a good question. For the moment, I will answer yes to your question, but it's not enough. We will have to accelerate all what we are doing, discussing with the schools in order to put the nuclear-specific training in the schools. And you probably know in France, it's maybe only in France, but it's difficult to discuss with the teachers and to ask them to modify the training during the year because they are used to have the same training and to introduce some nuclear specific. Some of them are against nuclear, so they don't want to introduce nuclear topics in their training and so on. So it is starting. We have put this organization in place 2 years ago now. But the slope is not enough.
So if we're coming to the end of this session, and I think we've heard some quite interesting things today, and I'm listening as somebody very recently job searching in the nuclear sector, and I heard a number of things that I think would have been either helpful for me or helpful for the folks looking for people like Amanda and myself. Herve, you've laid out the scale of the challenge for a nuclear fleet for France, which is nearly the size that many countries' fleet, like yours, Anna, would be upon answering the call for 3x nuclear. For triple nuclear, there needs to be a lot more Frances, where at the moment, France stands nearly alone as the most incredible example of a country almost entirely nuclearizing in one generation. But you've laid out 100,000 people, 50,000 going, needing to go up 50,000, net 100,000, and that is an impressive challenge. But we've heard something interesting. What type of person are we looking for? Neil says we want to look for risk takers who also make decisions and are okay with getting corrected and moving on. But then, of course, you're wanting those people one generation up who are looking for risk takers. In other words, taking a risk at getting risk takers, taking a risk at getting people that make decisions, even the wrong ones, and so on up the chain, and taking the risk that you get people and put them just before they're ready into a position of more responsibility. I really appreciated that, even as it makes me nervous as somebody who hires young people. I really am going to think about that for a while. Thank you, Neil. Amanda. So Amanda sounds like she could have gotten just about any job that she wanted to across the energy sector in South Africa. But one thing she pointed out to us, and I want to double down on this for us young people who have, both of us, we've traveled from far away to be connected to people around the world, play up nuclear energy's truly international features. Show the beautiful nuclear plants of the world and show them if you do a good job at home, we're going to need you all over the place. In fact, as one of the main points I got from you, Anna, that when a new nuclear program came calling, people who had made the highest capacity factor in world history, they went to the new build nuclear. And now that you're proposing new build nuclear that would fit with this triple nuclear pledge that a bunch of countries have signed their names to, you're looking for maybe some people coming back, but also recruiting the people who want to build new things, not only maintain existing excellence. I thought that was interesting to tie into Amanda's desire for international connections and your note about excellent Romanian workers working to rave reviews on new build elsewhere, and you're calling them home and saying it's time to 3x nuclear. And then finally, you have an extraordinary challenge ahead. What we've seen in the turnaround in France, I hear people all over the world talking about France again as the example to be looked at for what we can achieve. I think if that is embraced fully at home, as we have done something magnificent, we can maintain it and grow it. We will do new build. You will find the young people who want those international connections. I think all of us who love the French story are pulling for you, and we can't wait to see your new generation of young people that you're sure to pull in. Guys, thank you so much for lasting this long on our final panel. And I want to thank again our hosts for your incredible hospitality to hear what it sounds like for a nuclear industry to rise again to meet the challenge of international climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you.